Okay, good morning. Let's start with a practice. It's very important to insist that this is a practical class. So this is a practical book we're reading, and the main point of this is to put it into practice. So you know, I imagine some of you, maybe because you're not used to having a regular practice, maybe you're starting with whatever 3 minutes, but especially those of you who have time, and maybe those of you who are retired, or you don't have like a bunch of young children in the house, or everybody within their possibilities. But I really encourage you to try to set up a morning and evening practice, and an ideal goal would be at least to bring it to 15 minutes of actual sitting practice, of timing. Once you put the timer, so once you say, okay, this is the actual sitting practice, that doesn't include the motivation and the dedication. So this is, for some reason, there's like a threshold after 15 minutes that happens. So 3 minutes is fantastic, 1 minute is fantastic, 5 minutes. But if you gradually can build up to 15 and past 15 minutes, there's something that happens in the mind, and it has to do with the mind is very connected to the lunar cycle. And so there's a cycle of the moon that is more outward, and then there's a part of the cycle of the moon that is more inward. So that's reached after the 14th minute, after the 15th. So when the 15th minute starts, you're entering into a whole new energetic cycle. So, and this is my experience with the practice, that when you pass the 15-minute mark, like the 14:59 mark, there's a change that happens in the mind. So it's just this just to suggest that. Okay, so we're gonna go first. We're gonna first do the practice of just simply observing the breath. And so just, first, actually, let's start with a dedication. The first thing that is in this wonderful book that we are reading, it's this first quote. It's after the medical. So you have the the cover. There's this medical disclaimer, whatever it is, and then there's this quote by Juan Ramón Jiménez, which I can read it for you. You don't have to look for it. It says, "Don't run, go slowly. It is only to yourself that you have to go." So don't run, go slowly. Don't run, go slowly. It is only to yourself that you have to go. What we did in the first session, and especially in the second session, when we started discussing the breath of life, is to really try to bring us a sense of this awareness, that this deeper awareness of who we are, that is beyond. You can hear me all, yeah? Okay. Well, once I take my headphones on, so silly, this technology. So this is essential, and this is very important to keep this in mind, because this is what really gives you the meaning to the practice. What is it that we're doing? Was basically just go into ourselves. But because through through life, through trauma, through past actions, through just life in general, even though we're still ourselves, we have gotten sometimes so far away, that we need to build up this whole system of practices. This is why also I send this, we'll go over this later, this chart with this body lift with the different types of practices. So don't run, go slowly. It is only to yourself that you have to go. So session 1 and session 2, we just address this recollection. Oh, there's this awareness in me that is perceiving everything that is all the time, and that is actually unaffected. It's clear. It's just this is what we call the mother of all Buddhas. Okay, this self-awareness. Okay. So don't run, go slowly. It is only to this self-awareness, of this awareness that perceives this experience of being. We've been calling it the awareness of being. So don't run, go slowly. It is only to yourself that you have to go. The book by Juan Ramón Jiménez, beautiful poet, Spanish. His book was called Eternidades, Eternities, which is very meaningful because even though our day is broken into many things, when you connect to that awareness of being, even for a fraction of a second, that becomes an eternity in itself. It's like this timeless space. So always at the beginning of your practice, I suggest you to read these two lines, especially. Don't run, go slowly. It is only to yourself that you have to go. That really encapsulates all the teachings. And then the motivation. So bring to mind your personal motivation for, for engaging in these practices, for being here today. You could be doing so many other things and you're taking the time, so this is important for you. So whatever it is that you are attempting to accomplish through this practice, that's your personal motivation. And then the collective motivation. I'm going to practice healing meditation to benefit both myself and all other beings without exception. May my practice generate an infinite ripple of healing, well-being, and awakening across all time and space. May the illnesses of all beings be healed, and may they never occur again. May my practice bring joy and clarity to all beings, helping all of us become aware of our perfect essence. May we have the courage to recognize the same perfect essence within everyone and everything. That's where the welcoming mind comes in place that we were talking last week. May this recognition awaken healing, joy, peace, and love within each of us throughout all of existence. And then after that, we are just going to observe the breath for 3 minutes. Just simply observe the breath, okay? We're using the breath as the object of awareness, as the object of attention. So feel the breath coming in. And then feel the breath coming out. Keep your attention on the breath. If your mind goes away, following thoughts or following sensations, just naturally bring it back to the breath. As you would, with a tenderness that you would, put a little child that is sleepwalking back into their beds. Very often the mind will present a thought and will justify it, saying, oh, I know you're thinking, you're focusing on the breath, but just for a moment, think if that is the right car to buy. This is a good time. The mind is tricky like this. So those are just natural distractions. So do not entertain any other thought that is the observance of the breath. This is the practice. There's nothing else to do right now. So that was 3 minutes observing the breath. I find fascinating how my mind, this aspect of the mind that is like wind, you know, the mind has an aspect that is like wind, literally. And there's an aspect of the mind that needs to be in constant motion. So I'm sitting here, I'm observing the breath, and I see my mind like really trying to convince me, oh, for a moment you should really think of this thing that this is a good time, you know. So once you put the timer, that's what you're doing. Okay, just observing the breath. So now let's do another 3 minutes, but first bring awareness of being. Just become aware of yourself first. Almost like turning the senses inward, like turning the eyes to the eyes, the ears to the ears, like into your inner space. And there is something that you cannot really grasp. It's not like, you know, you can grasp a leg or an arm or a leg. It's just this awareness of being that is always present. So now once you have a clarity of this or a sense of this awareness of being, now we're going to observe the breath again for 3 minutes, but we're not just focused on the breath, we are aware of being, aware of the breath. Does this make sense? Okay, if it doesn't make sense, you can unmute yourself and tell me. But this is really the fundamental thing that I try to, that we tried to work, or the work last week, and this is a fundamental thing that has to be carried out once you are not in the formal practice anymore, is this awareness of you, this clarity of being, driving, this clarity of being, preparing a patient in the clinic, this clarity of being, talking to a client at your office, this clarity of being sad because something happened, this clarity of being angry because it's this clarity of being that is always present. So now we cultivate that in relation to the breath for 3 minutes. And in this practice is where you want to play if it's easier for you to do it with eyes open or eyes closed. Whatever is your natural tendency, start with the opposite. So if you want to close your eyes, just let them open, a little bit open, and just feel the breath coming in and out. Aware of I am, aware of I exist, aware of I am here in this moment, in this space, breathing. This is breathing the breath of life because it's combining the vitality, the presence, and the awareness of being, the life force, and the sense of I am. And it's not something serious, you can do this joyfully and smiling and happy. Holding your gaze, if you have your eyes open, holding your gaze relaxed but in the same spot will help you instead of moving the gaze places. And if you want to close your eyes now because you had them open and you want to try with that, also try to hold the attention steady inside. This practice is very simple, but it's really extremely fundamental for all aspects of our life. When our eyes are open, we breathe connecting to the objects of the world. When our eyes are closed, we breathe connecting to our inner sensations, to our inner emotions, to our thoughts. Focusing on the experience of being and on this sensation of I am breathing. This practice is extremely fundamental because one of the topics of today is honoring, encountering, and finding our personal rhythm. Natural medicine is about finding one's personal rhythm and in relation to the natural rhythms. And our most fundamental rhythm is the rhythm of the breath. So once we clearly experience awareness of being in relation to the rhythm of our breathing, we naturally connect to our personal rhythm. And when we relate to others, the more we cultivate our personal rhythm, the more clearly we can set up a strong, firm, loving set of values and of boundaries, which are very rewarding, very regenerating, and very actually important for us to relate to others and for others to relate to us. So that was 4 minutes. These practices are very, even a short practice done with the key ingredients can be extremely rewarding. If there's any questions, you can type in the chat or unmute. And if not, in page 13 of the book, I just want to emphasize this. There's the structure of practice. It's example of a healing meditation session. I would encourage everybody, if you already have a lot of experience and you have your practice structure, is okay. But I would encourage all of you to follow very closely these 3 steps, which is beginning with the motivation, and then the actual practice, and then the dedication. Okay, so this is very important. Please use this structure for your practice. And here in page 25, there's this, a very, very simple explanation of how the breath works. I call it Breathing 101 because it's just so simple that I think the most important thing to take from here is that we introduce the breath of life as that which brings us the vitality and brings us the awareness. Breathing is, I know, but very often, like most of the time, we don't even think about it. Breathing is really what feeds all the cells of our body, and therefore is what makes our body work well. And one of the key aspects of breathing is to promote detoxification. Okay, all parts of our body are made out of cells, and these cells to produce their normal metabolism create waste. Yes. So, very often people come here to the clinic and ask me, oh, I would like to do detoxification, or I'm using this formula to detoxify, and those things are great. But the most detoxifying thing that you can do, or one of the most detoxifying things that you can do, is to practice breathing exercises. In terms of illness, most illnesses that we experience are due to the accumulation of internal toxicity and external toxicity in our body. The toxicity stagnates or accumulates around 4 different levels. It accumulates around the cells, it accumulates on the cell membrane, on top of the cells, it accumulates inside of the cell, or it accumulates inside of the nucleus of the cell, okay? The deeper the toxicity, the more serious the illness. For example, a type of a cancer, a serious degenerative disease like multiple sclerosis, or illnesses that are very neurological in context. It seems that the toxicity actually has reached deep into the actual cell, the nucleus of the cell. Okay, so when we are, and this is why the practice that we are starting today for the next month, these 2 sections, is extremely important, because when we hold certain areas of our body tight, or anything that we hold tight, or in weird postures, or we had trauma there, naturally the reach of oxygen into the cells of those areas is diminished, and toxicity builds up in those areas, and as it seeps deeper into the actual cells is when we are more at risk of developing serious illnesses. Is this clear? This is extremely important to understand to understand the immense value of something as simple as just spending a few minutes every day in your bed. This morning I woke up and it was early, and I just lay in bed there and just breathing through all the parts of the body, bringing the breath deep into every specific area. It's extremely enjoyable. It's just, you can do it any time of the day, and it really has a very deep reach in your health and in your state of well-being. So the rest of this part you can read yourself, and that's really the key here, to understand that the breath is a main aspect of detoxification. I had sent two documents yesterday. I had sent a page that says understanding the relationship between breathing and the 7 layers of our divine potential. Everybody got that email? Okay. If not, I'll resend it. But so in a very much simple nutshell, at the moment of conception, there's an ovule and there's a sperm cell that join, and there's one moment in time energetically that all of us have been one single cell. Okay, so at the moment that that cell happens, it is believed that this universal awareness transfers into the cell, and then from there that transference comes with a blueprint of energetic blueprint, and what we call it, or in Taoist, in Chinese medicine, is called one's destiny. Okay, so this means one's potential to attain full and complete awakening and to live a joyful, happy life where we generate benefit for others. So from that single one cell to a body like this, there's now the body maybe is about 300-400 trillion cells. There's different numbers, but imagine from 1 it goes to many, many, many zeros. Okay? That single cell that contains our energetic blueprint, okay, our personal destiny, energetically transforms in what we call the central channel. Okay, the central channel is this space that runs from the perineum into the crown in the center of our body, from where the depending on the system, there's different numbers of energy centers. We know them as chakras. In Chinese medicine, we call them dantians. And then there's many different channels. Okay, in Chinese medicine, we use 14 main channels. In Ayurveda or all the other traditions of yoga, they say there's 72,000 channels. There's a tradition in India, for example, Kashmir Shaivism, that says that there's as many energy channels as pores in your skin. Okay, there's many millions of pores in your skin. So regardless of the number, what we know is like there's a central channel that is physically running through the center of your body, and that is informing, it's transmitting, broadcasting information of your personal potential and of your personal destiny. Okay. So you can imagine for a moment, like you can close your eyes and imagine from the bottom of the perineum, which is between the genital and the anus in the center of the body, on the bottom of the pelvic floor, this straight line that goes in front of the spine to the crown. From below, it's connected down the legs into the earth, and from above the crown is connected into the heavens. So that's a central channel. Along that central channel, and that's something that we're not going to go into detail right now, but there's different energy centers at the perineum, and the pubic bone area, at the navel, and the heart, and the throat, and the center of the head, and in the crown. Those are the main ones. So there's this circulation of energy that is supposed to ascend from denser to more subtle, and then radiate from the center into the channels, into the organs, into our energy field that surrounds us. The picture is clear. I'm sure you know this and you've seen it many times. So this is basically what this text is explaining here. Now, why do we do the next two practices that, one starting today and one in 2 weeks? Because these energy channels, or this central channel, is like a hose. The other day I was watering the yard. I mean, the other day was whatever, 2 months ago or something in the summer, and it was a knot somewhere, and obviously the water was not coming out, and then I have this hose that is a stretchy hose, and I left it too long in a bad position, and now there's a couple of holes, like right where you connected. Bloom was scolding me, say, I told you. Say, I know you told me, I forgot. Yeah. So the central channel is the same thing. Anything that is affecting physically around the central channel is gonna reduce or block or transform, like reduce the vibration, the quality of that energy that is being broadcasted. So in this process of ascension of energy that ascends with our consciousness from more individualized to more unified, the state of our abdomen, the state of our diaphragm, the state of our chest, our throat, and our head is of paramount importance, because it determines how this flow is flowing. So this is why we do these practices. This is what is explained here. I'm not reading it, I'm just sharing. So the 7 layers of this potential, you can read this. I don't want to take too much time. I prefer to focus more on the practice. There's on the summer we did 2 lectures or two sessions on this specific. So I will find the videos and send the link. But I think it's what is important to understand, like the basic process. So the first thing to unfold this potential that we think that has the ability to awaken an extraordinary life. So the first center, which is at the bottom of the central channel, has to do with the ability to be aware of oneself in the present moment. So all the other centers that are up are completely based and determine their function on this ability to feel rooted, to feel present, to feel aware in the present moment. And this cannot be emphasized enough. There's no way you can overemphasize this. So individuality is connected to the first center. So the key here is like you develop this sense of individuality, but it's a sense of individuality. There's no sense of pride as such. It's not a sense of selfishness. It's a sense of, oh, I am here. And that is extremely honoring. Like people say, oh, I want to honor my parents. I want to honor God. I want to honor, how can I, be closer to Jesus? Be present in the present moment. I mean, there's no way you can honor more your parents than acknowledging I am here. If you want to give, the best present you can give to your parents is this awareness of being that then, as it ascends into the next layer, you're aware, and then because there's this sense of individuality, there's a sense of recognizing the world too. I say, wow, I am here, the world is out there. And then naturally, there's this sense of curiosity, there's this sense of wanting to explore. I was reading a quote yesterday in Facebook. Tom Waits, I don't know if he said that, who knows these quotes that run around in Facebook, but he said, we have a deficit of wonder, And then he continues, but I thought that was great, because the welcoming mind that we were talking, and we keep exploring, it's really the mind of wonder. It's a mind that recognizes itself. It says, wow, and it's a world out there, let's explore, And this is the same thing. There's a sense of, for exploration, there's a need, a desire for variety. Okay? And obviously we want to do this through beneficial and harmonious relationships. And then the energy keeps expanding once one encounters itself in the world, and there's this exploration for variety, even with this desire for and this intention of wonder, of enjoying. But at some point there's a need of stability, there's a need of developing a clear plan. Okay? So this is the level of the navel and the solar plexus. The level of the heart, as the energy keeps ascending, there's this desire and there's this need, this natural expression of turning every time more and more this I into we, This I that we discover at the beginning of this central channel, when it reaches the heart, this energy becomes very loving. Okay, there's this ability to express. Here it says, no, ability to express every time more expanded states of love, connection, and intimacy. A lot of times we want to be very loving, but we suffer because our the stability of our personal I-ness is not grounded enough, and the higher centers are also not open enough. So this is why this process is so beautiful. Once the energy can ascend from the heart into the throat, there's what we call the ability to integrate and stabilize in our daily life all these previous levels. This becomes very clear through our throat. Through our ability to express, to communicate, to become of teachers. At the level of the eyebrow, our ability to perceive beyond appearances, and especially our ability to understand the relationship between our physical life and our physical death, the idea of transcendence. And then at the level of the crown, this is experience of union and oneness. When from I, we go to we, to one. You can read this. Then the way in which we unpack all this, so there's awareness of being, and everything else we do is to unpack all the incredible gifts that we have. So one of the ways to unpack this is through a program, and there's many kinds of programs. I sent this chart, okay? I just wanted to give you an idea of So this is the organization of all the teachings that what I personally, have received from my teachers, and I have, developed and reflected about, and I put it in a way that I think is very approachable for a lot of people who don't want to get deep into, some philosophies, or, just simply people who are want things clear and direct. Okay? So if you see at the bottom where it says module 1, okay, that's what we're doing now. This book, the Healing Now, covers the foundations of what we, of this module 1, which is about well-being, about rejuvenation. The yoga practice would be here, a Tai Chi practice, a Qigong practice, all these things will be here, okay? From the module 1, to keep unpacking all these gifts of the central channel, the bane of the program is what we already did with some of you in the past, is the joy of meditation. Okay? Now we're being introduced to the practice of meditation from the point of view of healing. The next level of the meditation, it's really to address it from the point of view of awakening. So in this class that we are doing right now, I'm threading both things because it's impossible to separate them. But this is really the central vein, okay? And then from there, there's other modules, like modules on developing insight, modules on purifying, modules on, we've done also some of you with these, the sacred sound, healing mantras, 5 elements. There's these other modules. So there's a very clear program. It's not something random. It's not something that it just it's left at the mercy of things. There's a very clear program of how to go from this awareness of being into the experience of what we call remembering the light of the heart in module 12, which is not just the heart, this heart, but this understanding, which is the nature of reality, which all for fun. I just wanted to share this with you for you to see that even if you just do these practices are complete in itself. There's nothing like it. Like if you do the practice of breathing the breath of life, that practice contains this whole thing, But because we have a sense of exploration, and we have a sense of we want variety, and we want to understand things better, so it's very important to structure a program that covers all all different aspects of our human embodiment. So these are the two things I wanted to at least touch today, and the importance of why the relationship between our breathing and the expansion of the different layers of our potential, and then this tree of practices that we call. Actually, this is often this is depicted in a tree. I use a Bodhi leaf. This is the type of leaf that the Bodhi tree, the tree where the Buddha was sitting when he attained awakening. This is the type of leaf that this tree has. So I'm sure some of you have seen it. So practice exploring your breathing. So far, we just have recognized the breathing. We have seen, I am breathing. Yeah. Now we are going to see how is our breathing. So there's 4 main qualities to our breathing. There's depth, there's sound, there's speed, and there's rhythm ratio. This can be a bit tedious for some people who, say, oh, why would we have to do all these details, It's very, very useful to break things down in a way that is very, very specific, because it keeps expanding your awareness of being, and especially on the breath, where it's so important how our physical body is surrounding our central channel. So the first aspect is going to be the breathing depth. The exercise here, it is explained, or thinking that you're sitting on a chair. I'm sitting on the floor. I think most people sit on chairs, so that's why we did it like this. So the breath, the depth of our breath has two aspects. One of them is the actual reach, and the other one is the volume, which they are related, but sometimes they also they differ. Essential here, we are not trying to change anything. In the next practice, we'll start changing the qualities. This specific practice, again, it's just a practice of exploration, a practice of recognition. So sit comfortably. If you're sitting on a chair, ideally you would sit towards the edge of the chair and your feet would be flat on the ground. You can also, whatever is comfortable for you, it depends on your back. But ideally you would try to keep the spine somehow straight. And then again, always at the beginning of your practice, take a moment. I am in this place, I am in this body, I am here. So this is what happens, I am in this place, meaning you look at your room, you're here. And then I am in this body. It kind of brings your awareness closer to itself. This is my awareness. And because energy needs direction, so this is the thing with energy. You either give it direction or it will run by itself in any way it wants. So to help you stay focused, activate the intention, I am going to explore the depth of my breathing. And then this extends to anything you're doing. You're doing the dishes. I am going to do the dishes. I am going to load the dishwasher. I am going to, watch a show, whatever it is. So you're telling your awareness to stay present with whatever you're doing. I'm going to explore the depth of my breathing. And then to explore the breathing depth, first in relation to the air exchange, just bring your attention to the breath. This is better if you do with your eyes closed. And just observe the amount of air that comes in and the amount of air that goes out. Just observing. So the questions here are, and please keep observing the amount of air that comes in and out. Observe how much new air do you feel comes in versus how much old air goes out. And then a very important question, keep observing, is, do you feel the amount of air that you are exchanging internally and externally, like the amount of air that you're breathing in and the amount of air that you're breathing out? Does it feel satisfactory? Does it feel sufficient or insufficient? And again, it's not a matter of judging bad or good, it's just, how does it feel? So how much air is coming in? How much air is going out? Does this exchange feel sufficient or insufficient? This is how we explore the depth of our breath in relation to the air exchange. And this has a very interesting translation into our emotions. What am I experiencing from the outside? What am I receiving from the outside? How does it feel in my inside? How does it make me feel? And is this something that feels good to me, or this is something that I don't enjoy so much? And this is essential to start connecting with our personal rhythms. And this is essential, especially for people who need to set up stronger boundaries, firmer, loving but firmer boundaries. And then at the same time, it goes also the other way around. How am I feeling inside? And how is that limiting my ability to relate to the world? This is not something you have to think now, but later, in the next few days when you're practicing, this is something that you can keep also in mind to observe. So then to explore the next step, step 5, to explore breathing depth as it relates to physical reach. This just means, obviously the physical air when you inhale just, can only go as far as the bottom of the lungs. If there was a hole there, it would be a pneumothorax, you would have to go to the hospital, yeah? But still, there's like a relationship between the lungs, the diaphragm, the intestines, the liver, the kidneys. So how deep do you feel the actual movement of the breathing cycle? So to start this, you can put your hands on the navel, your palms, and you don't have to do anything, just it's very light, and just observe. Start breathing, continue breathing. And naturally just observe, this time, the physical aspect, Is there any movement on your abdomen as you are breathing in and out? Again, do not change anything, just simply observe. we are strengthening the muscle of our welcoming mind, of our mind of observation, our mind of wondering. There's a mind that is, oh, let me see how it is. It's a mind that is not rushed. It's a mind that knows that I have to go slowly. It's just to myself that I have to go. And this applies to our emotions, to our thoughts. Whatever we feel, we can observe it the same way. Is there movement in the abdomen? Is there expanding? Is it relaxing? Is it present at all? How wide it is? And then rest the hands on the sides for a minute. And just connect again with this sense of joy, like this is incredible. You know, it's not that meditation is so good for you, it's not that breathing is so good for you. It's like today, this Sunday morning, that you could be doing an infinite number of things. You're actually putting time to cultivate yourself, to connect with yourself, to explore this. So this is tremendously wonderful. So rejoice, connect with that happy, happy sensation. So from the abdomen, now bring the hands to the sides. Just put the hands here on the sides of the on the rib cage, and the same thing you did. So just inhale and exhale. It's not extremely necessary to put the hands. I think putting the hands just helps. But also, if your shoulders get tight, you can just rest your hands, whatever you prefer. But keep the awareness on the sides, on the chest and on the rib cage. You can put just one hand, whatever works for you better. But just observe. Is your breath expanding the rib cage? Is your breath relaxing the rib cage? Is your rib cage very tight? Just simply observe. If it's expanding and relaxing, does it feel like a wide expansion? Is it like a short expansion? And something very important to notice, are you breathing mostly with the chest? Very often people just breathe like with the upper chest. So is it something that is happening to you? Does your breathing stay high on your chest, or is it spreading evenly across your upper body? You can also put your hands on the chest, on the breasts if you want. So this gives you an idea of the actual physical reach of how the breath is involving the different parts of your abdomen and chest. Bring the hands, so we're on step 7, and then after observing this, just bring the hands to rest on your thighs. And then just simply observe your breath. And consider the following. Does your breathing ripple beyond your lungs towards your abdomen and your extremities? Or does it feel mostly localized on the chest? There's a physical breath that happens on our abdomen, on our lungs, and then there's an energetic breath that happens through the rest of the body. So just observe. Maybe you've never been aware of this, maybe nobody ever mentioned this to you. So basically the question is, can you feel your arms, your legs, your head breathing? Are they breathing also? And then let go completely of any observation and just simply rest for a minute in a state of presence. In a state of awareness of being. So this is what we're doing here is very, very important because you can now open your eyes if you have them closed before we go into the next section. So we are realizing my awareness has a characteristic which is attention. If I'm able to sustain my attention on what I want, naturally my life goes better because I'm more present. If my attention runs from here to there because I don't have control over it, naturally, things get a bit bumpy often, okay? Emotionally, physically, okay? So this practice is aligning our physical body and our breath through our attention, through sustaining our attention, through strengthening the power of our intention and our attention in different aspects of our body. So I don't know if you can notice, but it's very possible that your mind at this time is kind of clear, is expansive, and the emotions feel more settled. Okay? And we just didn't do much, we just observed the breath for a few minutes. This is very, very important. The next step is, the next section is the breathing speed. We don't need to go through the first few sections because we already did. So we're going to explore the speed of our breathing. Now we switch from depth to the breathing, to the speed, sorry. So the first thing we're going to do is just observe. And at this point, probably your breath would be slower than if you observe randomly throughout the day, but still just observe the speed of the breath. There's no counting, there's nothing. Just see if the breath feels fast or slow or medium. How does it feel? Diane, keep the chin lower. Yeah, the chin has to be aligned, not up, but lower. Like kind of, the nose should be kind of horizontal with the floor. Okay, so that gives you a sense of the breath, the speed. Now, for the sake of scientific research, we're going to count, actually. So I'm going to put a timer, okay, for 2 minutes. And for 2 minutes, we're going to count the breathing speed. Excuse me, the amount of breath. So one breath is in and out, so inhale, and exhale is one breath. Okay, so just start counting your breath. So we have observed the speed of the breath, we counted the breaths, whatever number, if you want to write it down and note, like for you, or keep in mind. And later today, after you go for a walk or something, just count the breath again and observe your mind, or you're in a moment that you're feeling distracted, or in a moment where you're feeling angry or sad. Again, just observe the number of breaths, and you'll see, like, usually the slower the breath, the more clear the mind. We'll talk next time, we'll talk about the qualities of the breath. Just so take one more minute and just again go back to the experience of being. And naturally just letting your body be at ease, your mind be at ease, connecting with a sense of joy. The next aspect is the breathing sound. As you can see, I hope those of you who have the camera off are not sleeping in the couch, because this is very, it's thorough. This is really like the ABCs, like, let's say you decide you want to learn Italian or Sanskrit or Spanish, whatever, and there's an aspect of the language with each talking and communicating, but there's an aspect of the language that's just learning the ABCs, learning the sounds, learning, and when you want to skip steps, so often it doesn't work so well, So what we're doing now here, we're just paying attention to the ABCs, We're going to do 8-10 more practices that are based on the breath. Basically, all the other practices we're going to be doing are based on the breath. So what are the fundamental characteristics of our breath? So we're going to give it a couple of weeks, and then, when you're practicing on your own, you can just take one or two of the aspects at a time, or, if you have more time, you can do all of them at a time. It doesn't matter. The important thing is, like, over the next 2 weeks, for a few minutes in the morning, in the evening, and throughout the day, when you remember, just observe the breath. How is the depth of my breath right now? How is the speed? And now we're going to do the sound. There's a practice in the next chapter which it's specifically the observing the sound of our breath, because that's actually a very, very important practice. In this case, it's just a practice of exploration. It's a similar practice, but in this case, we're just exploring, and we just do it for a shorter period of time. And here we also we just want to explore the sounds, because that gives us information of what's going on with our throat, with our nose, with our lungs. Okay. So activate the intention to explore the sound of your breathing. I'm going to explore the sound of my breathing. And then just eyes closed, I think is better now. Bring your attention to hear and feel the sound of your breath. Your mind is clear, there's this sensation, this awareness of being, and your attention from that awareness of being is directed towards listening to the sound of the breath. So the questions are, can you hear yourself breathing? And obviously, you can hear yourself breathing or not. How is it loud? Is it quiet? And is the sound of the breath smooth? Is it crackly? Is it choppy? And then just let go any kind of observation and come back just to the mind at ease, a mind state of clarity, just present. This thing, what we do in between um, steps, so you have the steps where you're focusing, guiding your attention to either an inner object or an outer object. So the breath or the sensations, an image that you're observing. And then there's a practice, there's a something that we have been doing in between, which is just what we call rest at ease, where awareness is just resting on itself and it's not really chasing after anything. So that's a very, very important practice that you should get used to doing throughout your day. Just become habituated, become, used to whatever you are, just observing things without being engaged with them. Um, Listening sounds without chasing after them, experiencing emotions without having to grasp to them, having thoughts run through your mind without you having to be dispersed. So this is very, very essential. The final step of this practice, the final section, is breathing rhythm and ratio. So the rhythm is just to observe. Okay, here is explained. Rhythm refers to how the speed, the length, and the timing are interrelated. Okay, so what is the actual rhythm of the breath? And the other one, the ratio, is the relationship between the length of the inhalation and the exhalation. So I'm going to explore the rhythm and ratio of my breathing. And we start with rhythm. Then basically, it comes down to, is my breathing pattern regular or is it irregular? It's like, and this has a lot to do also with one's heart function. No? It's how is the blood circulation pumping. To explore the breathing rhythm, observe the flow of air coming in and out your body for as long as you need to answer the following questions. We're in page 34. Just simply go back to observing the breath and observe if the inhalation and exhalation, the in and out, are regular, are in a rhythmic pattern, regular pattern, or irregular. Is it coming and going at regular intervals, or is it coming and going randomly? And then connected to this is what we call the, the ratio. So now what we're going to do is count the length of the inhale. So as you're inhaling, you can do 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. And then count the length of the exhale. Just, we'll do this for, 1 minute. We'll do this for 4 breaths. And then we'll just, so you can have an idea. So this gives you a sense of, just as a matter of exploration, which is the inhalation longer, the exhalation longer, are both the same. What is it? And the key question as you're observing, it's, do their lengths feel satisfactory or unsatisfactory? Like, do they feel sufficient or insufficient? And then just let rest. Just observe breath without counting. Be aware of your own presence. And the healing benefits, there's so many healing benefits to each of these practices, but this is very relaxing for the body, for the mind. This is a great practice to help us develop focus and mental clarity, and to help us become familiar with the qualities of our breath for the following practices. This is very important to help us realize how we breathe really affects us. So if you later on during the day, when you're in a different state, you observe your breath and you see how it is, and then just start observing it a bit deeper, you see how your breath changes and you start feeling more clear, calmer too. So this is very important for that. I'll let you read by yourself the practice insights. And let's do a little bit of the dry bath. I'm thinking it's a bit tricky to get everything in just one session in 90 minutes. I think I was a bit naive of the amount of content that I wanted to cover just in 90 minutes. I'm thinking of doing just a separate session of maybe 2 hours where we can cover just the whole chapter of the dry bath. So we'll have it recorded there. I'll see at some point. I will send an email to that if you. I think that'd be something useful. Okay, so the dry bath, it's very important to do at the end. So start rubbing your hands. And rub the hand on put the hand on the knee and rub it. And the idea is like you connect with a sensation of happiness, of joy and well-being, and whatever you are brushing, you're directing your smile there, feeling happy. Oh, I see a cute puppy there. And then do the other side. And then rub the hands. And then the arms, the channels of the arms. So you are inhaling And exhaling. Usually at the end of the practice or at night, I usually just do three repetitions of each. Now the head. The other direction. And covering the eyes. And rub the thumbs around the eyes. And moving the eyes up and down 3 times. And then to the sides 3 times. Rubbing the temples. The nose, brush your hands and the nose. Pinching the bridge of the nose. Massaging the ears. And with the tongue, I don't think this is in the book, but with the tongue go over your teeth. 3 times each direction. And then click the teeth 10 times, softly. And swallow saliva. The chest. Up the hands. And from the hip in diagonal, rubbing 3 times. And then the other direction. I have the mic here, so I'm going over the, I'm not touching myself, but you should be, touching yourself. And then the diaphragm, smiling to the diaphragm. All this you're smiling to whatever tissues you are brushing. And then the abdomen first counterclockwise. So this hand goes on the waist and goes counterclockwise this way. And then change directions clockwise. And then the kidneys and the waist from the sacrum to the sides. And I'm a bit tight here with space, so I'm not going to stretch my legs, but you stretch your legs and wrap. And then the other one, or you could tap too. And then the knees. These days, rubbing the knees is extremely beneficial because the knees strengthen the kidneys and the brain. And when you're living moments or they are very chaotic, like a lot of confusion, a lot of fearful news, it's very important to keep the knees and the kidneys strong. So before you're going to watch the TV, rub your knees or don't watch TV so much. I mean, it's important to be informed. But. And then press your feet. And wrap the lower abdomen between the pubic bone and the navel. And then collect this beautiful heavenly energy with rainbow colors. beautiful shower, smiling to every cell of the body. So happy, so joyful, so grateful for this opportunity to practice, for for these beautiful bodies that we have, for this beautiful community where we live. So may we generate benefit for all sentient beings through our practice. May we be able to use our body, our mind, and our energy, our words, to generate benefit for others. And then at the end of the practice, we read the dedication. By the merit of, this is in page 11, by the merit of having practiced healing meditation for the benefit of myself and all other beings, may all beings without exception be well and happy. May there be peace in all lands, prosperity in all households, and joy in all hearts, across all time and space. And may all the motivation prayers made for the well-being of beings become a reality. And may the heart of love, the mind of love, whatever is not awakened yet, may it awaken. What is awakened may never decrease, but continue to increase forevermore. So whatever there's even a small speck of love within everybody's mind, within someone's mind, may just keep increasing, so that love then shines and becomes a source of bliss and well-being for all sentient beings. And may we all get along well and just unfold love and beauty in this beautiful and loving earth. So to accomplish this purpose, what we call the purpose of self, the benefit for oneself and others, this practice that we covered today is very, very fundamental, is very essential. So I encourage you all to practice, and the way to practice is, just sit, do the motivation, and then just, whatever, go to the page, whatever it is, page 29, and just, read the practice and just start doing a little bit, spend a few minutes, and realize that this is very important. No? So you're doing this with your clarity of mind, with your awareness of being, realizing that is the breath of life that you're observing. That's why we first talk about the breath of life. It's not just air coming in and out. You are actually observing how you are relating to the breath of life, how this breath of life, this divine breath, if you are a Christian or a Catholic, we went over that quote in the Bible, it's God that is giving you the breath. So how is the breath, the divine breath, coming in you? How deep is going into your body? What is the speed of it? So this is what you're doing, and this is something extremely, extremely precise, and at the same time extremely joyful, extremely at ease. So it's just wow, like being home. So thank you so much. Let me mute everybody.